Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Loading, and wherever you are tuning in, we are so glad to have you. And I am so excited. We are back here again today at the meeting place in the Farmers Branch, Addison area. And I've got my friend today, Jeff Weaver. This is going to be so much fun. This is totally, I'm going to be honest, an unplanned. We talked about doing a podcast episode, but we just, in the last few minutes, decided we are going to pull together a podcast episode. So I have a feeling this is going to be a lot of fun. The last time Jeff and I got to sit down and talk, we were there for like 2 hours. We promise we are not doing that today. But this is going to be a lot of fun. But before I get him on here and we start getting into this, I do want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine. All right. And with that, I do want to make a mention to head on over to startergirlz.com. I say this every single week. And why do I say that? 3 reasons. 1, if you have missed an episode, it is a great place to get caught up. And then, of course, if you want to be in the know, it's a great place to sign up for our community newsletter and keep up with what we've got going on. And if you are an aspiring creator, entrepreneur, or maybe you're in the thick of it, I don't know, and you want to find out what your number one success block is that may be hindering your success, well, guess what? I've got your back. There is a 2-minute quiz over there that you can take that will actually help you identify what it is that could be holding you back right now. So head on over to startergirlz.com, and as I always say, do your thing. All right. This could be fun.
All right, we're ready.
Yeah, Jeff Weaver, he is the founder of Go Gorilla Marketing, and he's got kind of a fun story. I'm going to chat with him a little bit about that today, and we're going to learn. I've gotten to learn about your story, but our audience doesn't know who you are yet.
All right, we'll bring him up to speed.
Exactly. We're going to get him caught up. So, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So excited to have you here today.
Great to be here.
It's going to be fun.
It's kind of like a cold call. It just happened.
I know, it just did. Except this isn't very cold, but yes. It's so funny how, I've done so many of these now that I feel like there's never really a surprise.
Right.
You know what I mean? I
yeah.
just like, we'll make it work. Whatever happens. We're gonna make it go. So
Got it.
Let's start this off, Jeff. I want to talk a little bit about your background story, like what brought you to this place of Go Gorilla Marketing. So take us back, what brought you here, and how this all came about for you.
Okay, I'll take you back maybe about 20 years. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. It goes further back. But I owned a franchise of a barter exchange. And what that means is that businesses would become a member and then transact using our virtual currency, if you will, before virtual currency became a thing. And that way they didn't have to use cash. Okay. And I owned that franchise for 11 years. Wow. And it was time for me to do something different. So I sold that. And I started a company called Quick Results Marketing. And in that kind of started because a buddy of mine called me from San Jose, California. He was also a barter franchisee, and he owned a restaurant for like 25 years. It was the most popular restaurant in San Jose. And he said, Jeff, I'm sitting in a restaurant. He calls me at lunchtime, his time, and says, Jeff, I'm sitting in a restaurant. It has about 30 to 40 tables. And I'm one of the tables all by myself, and there's 2 business people over there talking. That's it. We're the whole business right now. He said, these guys are just dying. We got to do something. Yeah. And I said, well, why are you calling me? And he said, well, you're the marketing guy. I said, okay, fair enough, but he's the sales guy. So, but anyhow, I said, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I think we need to do email marketing for them. I said, okay, let's look into that. So give me a couple of days. And I did the research and found out that GetResponse and Constant Contact had done research of all of their businesses that use their emailing services and found out that only 10 to 13% of restaurant-related emails get opened.
Yeah,
I'm like,
wow.
So if you got 1,000 people in there, you're really only advertising to 130, not 1,000.
Yeah.
And I just kept digging, and I landed on text messaging because 97% get read, and it's the way that people want to communicate today. Yes, they can get email on their phone, but everybody's worn out on email, as we all know.
Yeah.
So this was something that, because they opt in, they want to receive those, and so that worked out really well. And so recently I sold that and started another company that I call Go Guerrilla Marketing. And what we're doing there is a couple of things. I'm still going to do some text messaging because that's across the country.
Yeah.
But I have 7 retention formulas for small businesses, not only restaurants, but massage therapists and flower shops and auto repair shops, and they're all mobile based, but they're not apps.
Okay.
Because people have become app fatigued. They got
Yeah,
200 or 300 on
wow.
their phone,
Yeah.
So ours, when somebody shoots a picture of the QR code at the business, it just loads right into their wallet, Apple Wallet, Samsung Wallet, whatever they're using, Google Wallet. And that way there's probably only 10 or 12 things in their wallet.
Gotcha.
And so it makes it fun for them to interact with the business that way. And then I'm also doing something that's more of getting new customers. We're putting in large screen TVs in businesses, and we will advertise that business in 10, 15, 20 and more different businesses within a few mile radius. So, if it's a dry cleaner, nobody's going to drive more than a mile to get to the dry cleaner.
Right.
But if it's a restaurant, they'll drive 3 miles. And if it's a kid's activity or something, they might drive 7 miles, so we can advertise in all those places.
Yeah.
And they have on their TV in their location, they're running the ads for the other businesses, and they can run their own specials. So that's the story of the 3 businesses and what put me where I am today.
That's so awesome. Well, and I think it's funny, I always talk about these non-linear paths. I think so many people, I could probably say majority of the people that have been on this show have sort of had this non-linear path, But I think the interesting thing is that you'll find that there's little pieces that actually link them all together, right? They link the different segues. But I do want to say something about the apps because it's so funny. I just spent this week, I was trying to organize all the freaking apps on my phone. And so then, I'm setting up these little boxes and I'm moving them in there and getting them in. And then I'm like, I forget where I put them. I'm clearly have too many apps on my phone. So you are absolutely right when we're all like sick of apps because I'm like, if I have to download, I think I downloaded another app today, another business app. And so, yes, I'm with you on that. But I do think, if you think about like the text marketing, emails, yes, we get a lot of them. And I do read the ones that I want to be reading that come through, the important things that come in. But we do get a lot. And it's crazy because they'll get lost in there sometimes, right? And you'll be like, oh, I missed that email. But text is sort of like you see those and you're like, what's that text? And you pull it open because they're short, they're sweet. You don't have all that long, stuff in there. And so I do agree with you that
the short thing is really important. I do have customers that know that you can text a picture.
Yeah.
So maybe a restaurant wants to text a picture of a dinner. And I'm like, no, you really don't want to do that. And he says, oh, no, pictures really sell. And I said, what we used to say is pictures are worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And nobody wants 1,000 words on their text message.
So yeah, you don't want to be sending long text. I hate when I have to send a long text to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're going to do that, put some spaces in it.
160 characters. That's where we're at, 160.
Yeah. It's so crazy, though. I think that's kind of where we're at, like in a lot of things, because even today, like I'm in there doing like my social media, which, by the way, you probably have heard me say this 100 times. I hate social media. As much as we do with this podcast that we have to be in the social media space, but I absolutely hate doing it. And it's like today I'm going through and trying to create posts and trying to create, different kinds of, I don't know what you want to say, different kinds of just creative art, right? And I'm sitting here thinking our attention span, like you're creating, I'm putting that together and like nobody's giving it a look at that because nobody can look at it that long. They're not going to read it and they're not going to look at it for long, right? It has to be, You got so many seconds to move things, whether it be in text, video, or whatever you're doing.
Everything seems to be moving faster every day.
I know.
And it's hard to keep up with what we need to do, even with all the technology that's available. Sometimes we're overwhelmed trying to learn the technology so that we can get stuff done.
Yeah.
That's frustrating. As an entrepreneur, that's really frustrating because, I'm a one-man show with a part-time assistant, so most of it's falling on me.
Yeah.
And I'm using all the technology I can muster.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you do, and it's crazy too. And I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, like I'm a depth person, so all that fast stuff drives me absolutely crazy because I like the depth. Like I like to get to know people, I like to read things, I like to investigate, and so everything, this punchiness, I'm like, majority of people are probably not going to be that way, but I am that way, and so and here I'm trying in this world to be like, okay, Jennifer, pull the depth back. Not everybody wants all that context, like let's just make it short and punchy.
Not everybody wants to slow down. That's the kind of the thing. So my one slow time a day is when I walk from the car to the office.
Right.
I walk very slow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's
You're
rushing
moving
everywhere.
Yeah. No, I get it. Well, and I get it. On that point, yes, I do that. Walk fast, all that stuff I do. Talk fast, But I get it, absolutely. So good stuff. So you talked about a little bit about what guerrilla marketing, I really like the TV thing. I think that's a really good thing. And for anybody here locally, obviously we're featuring, a local entrepreneur here, but anybody local here could do that. And I think it's an incredible opportunity for a business owner, especially like we were talking about Mexican food out there and how Friday night I go get my, my fajitas or my fajita salad, no carbs, I only do the meat, the meat and all the other fixins. But it's a local place here in town. And if you think about it, I'm sitting here thinking, what if somebody had a monitor in that place? There's a lot of people there on Friday night, and that monitor was up there, right? And they were looking at that.
Yeah, here's one thing I discovered just quite by accident as I was putting this part of my marketing together. I went to the corner that our neighborhood is at.
Okay.
And we do business with about 7 or 8 businesses on that corner.
Okay.
And so I went in, I thought I'll just take pictures of the buildings and grasp about 4 or 5 signs at a time. There were 52 businesses on that corner.
Wow.
And we're only doing business with 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, of the other 40 businesses, half of them I never even knew existed.
Yeah.
I don't even know what some of them do because their sign isn't good enough. But
right.
yeah, it was really shocking how much is out there. And that's when I really started thinking, these poor businesses, there's no way for what I call the little guys to do hyper local marketing.
Yeah.
It costs a fortune. I talked with one lady, she was a restaurant owner. She did a $3,000 postcard campaign and got no results.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the TV stuff, and she's like, well, can we put a QR code on there so I can have a coupon? I said, yeah, you can measure it, and you're going to find great results.
Yeah.
Because they're a captive audience.
Right,
When they're standing at their trash can with the postcards, they're not captive at all.
Right, right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and marketing is one of those things that I think you need to be diligent about. Like when I first moved here, I was in Mary Kay at that time, and I was doing. Remember the Welcome Wagon?
Oh yeah.
They did the Welcoming Neighbor. Okay, so I had done that in Houston. I was one of the, I guess maybe you call them subscribers. I had paid to do the year contract. Not cheap by any means, but one of the beautiful things that I loved about that when I started that was that we would get the phone list. And so I was able to actually, those books, they were delivering those welcoming packages to the neighbors, but I was actually able to follow up with those neighbors and make sure that when they got it and then offer my services. And the funny thing was, I was in Mary Kay for 22 years. I had some of those original clients when I first moved here from that original early welcoming neighbor with me all the way till the end when I left 22 years later.
Yeah.
So
isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah, so the marketing worked, but what I will say in that was I don't know that it would have necessarily been as effective had I not been doing that actual follow-up process, right? Because then you're getting back to doing just putting things out cold again, right? Like mail outs or whatever. But I was very proactive about doing that. So I think my point to that is that, yes, you have to be very diligent about whatever marketing resource, whatever you use for your marketing, because you need to have your expectations, right? If you're going to do mailings, like you're saying, and there's no real way to follow up, and you're just putting mailings, you're kind of, be aware of that and know
Yeah.
your numbers and
And
statistics.
that's something that, as a marketer, that people really need to think about. I'm a little bit like you.
Yeah.
I like to take the broad picture and dig as deep as I can. And yeah, if we have systems that we can follow up on, and even better if they're free.
Yeah.
Like one example that I teach small business owners to do is stop paying cash for everything you buy. Start doing some trade. And they're like, what do you mean?
Now talk about that.
Yeah,
Let's talk
yeah,
about that
that's-
because I think that is a you
Yeah.
know what, because you and I get that, and
Yeah.
and the only reason I would know that is because I did it in Mary Kay the entire time
Right.
I was working at Mary Kay. We did stuff like
Yeah.
this, and I still think like that now. But a lot of business owners, I will have this conversation. Not that I'm trying to do that, but I will suggest it, and it's like a foreign thing. Like they just don't even get it, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm like, big picture,
Yeah.
big picture.
So the simplest way to put it, of course, mine was what was called a modern barter exchange. It's a little deeper, a little broader, but I just take it down to the local level. Let's say you're a restaurant and you got a window cleaner that charges you $100 to come clean the windows once a month. You go to him and say, as you know, things are challenging out there for us restaurants, and I'm sure it's challenging for you too, but I just can't do the $100 anymore. But what I will do for you is I'll pay you $50 cash, and I'll give you two $25 gift cards. You can use them yourself or get creative and use them as a thank you to another business or maybe a new customer. But the beauty of it is that they're getting $50 back in business, because if that $50 cash you gave them, there's no guarantee where
Yeah.
they're going to spend it.
Right.
But you know where 50 of it's coming back.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it is guaranteed sales. And people, when they hear that, they go, wow, I never thought of it that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's guaranteed sales, and there's nothing wrong with that. And, maybe they only do part of it in trade, or maybe they only do it for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to look at it as whatever win I get, however big it is, it's better than
Right.
what's going on right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and I think it gets back to thinking big picture. You've got to, because we talk about like ROIs in business, and people think ROIs mean the immediate return on investment, but sometimes the return is not there. It's down the road. You're building the relationship. And I did that stuff all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I was always giving out, gift cards and swap bartering
Right.
with, clients and other businesses because in that world we did a lot of like collaboration. I mean, not to say we don't do that here, but we did a lot of that type of stuff. And so for me, it was that
Yeah.
wouldn't even be anything out of my realm
Right.
of thought.
And this is kind of the advice, because people say, why do you talk about it being low cost and no cost? If you're not getting paid, why are you doing this? I've been a small businessman my whole life,
Yeah.
and I know the pain that it causes.
Sure.
And there's no marketing out there for people. So I'm going to help them with the low cost stuff that gets high returns that they can actually afford and actually measure. Then I'm going to give them all kinds of no cost advice. Why? Because I'm a champion for small businesses.
Yeah.
And, the different ways, there's like 4 or 5 different ways I teach people to leverage their gift cards, that all that business comes back to them.
Right.
And then most of them are like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Another way is just your employees. In my opinion, every employee of a company should be doing something to generate sales for the company, not just their job.
Yeah.
And so what you can do is you can go to your employees and say, I'm going to give you 2 $25 gift cards. You need to give them to 2 people, friends, relatives, other whatever, that have never come to our store
Yep.
or our
Yep.
restaurant.
Yep.
And that money's coming straight back to you 100%, no discount. How can you lose? You didn't have the discount.
Yeah.
So I just give those ideas away because, I don't want to be a consultant,
Right,
and
right.
charge these big whopping, monthly fees. I just want to I'm going to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And my lane is the text marketing, the TV stuff, and the retention stuff. Everything else is my gracious value to give. And
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. Nothing makes me more excited than for somebody to call me and say, that thing you told me to do, I did it, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then they'll call and say, hey, I did that thing you said, and it didn't work. And I say, okay, well, let's review exactly what
Right,
you did,
what you did.
right?
Yeah, let's
and
look
then
at it.
we'd find that one little tweak that they kind of took out of context, and we fix that, and it starts working.
Yeah.
Guerrilla strategies work, and they cost very little, if anything at all.
Yeah, that's good. And I think, yeah, and as a small business owner, they're always looking for ways to do their business effectively and not put a lot of money out there.
Right.
As you were talking about this, I was thinking about the Texas Legends,
Yeah.
the basketball. So George Schauer, he's no longer with the Texas Legends. He passed away. Great man. I got to know him while I was in the Texas Legends, but he was so awesome. They used to call him, I think he had everything from Generous George to Crazy George. He had all these names, but he was really good. He would get tickets. He would get tickets to the Texas Legends, and he would give them out. And he would always call me and be like, Jennifer, do you have families that anybody, in your circle, like networking or whatever that you want, that have families that would love to come, because they knew that they were bringing people into the game and they were creating that environment and they would come back. And so, they had a larger purpose. Malcolm always says he wants that, to be a place where you can get in and actually afford to go to a game and have family fun entertainment.
Right.
But my point to that is George was always giving those tickets out, and he worked for the Legends. He was giving those tickets out and bringing people in. And so I agree with you, and I think it's even deeper than that when you get your team to do that with you, because it's not even just about that, right? You're getting them invested in the company, like they're a part of that. They're
And
part
that
of that
fixes
process.
your culture problem.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Now you've got them invested in the company, and now it's a bigger thing. And it's what we're kind of doing, even with this new pet sitting thing I'm creating. Like, I've got it set up with these girls, like they're part of this process.
Right.
Like, they can help bring people in. I'm going to reward them for that. But also, it's like, hey, they look at it like, hey, we're a part of this. We're building. It's not just Jennifer's going out and looking for clients. They're part of this process. And so it's cute. They'll send me a little text and they'll be like, hey, I talked to somebody. And they're like, they're going to call. And I'm like, yay, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, I'm big about gift giving. I've told some of my clients, give me gift cards. I ask them for them. And they're like, you're not going to charge me to do this marketing for me? I said, no, because I'm out talking with people all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt me to say, have you ever eaten that? Or where do you have your nails done? Have you ever tried this place?
Right.
Here's a gift card.
Yeah.
It's no sweat off my back. Why would I pay for it?
Well, and to that point, we used to say all the time, I would tell my consultants this back in the day, I would like, we sell every day without even thinking about it. So right, we are always selling people.
What's for dinner?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just sold the Los Jalapenos in Carrollton out there. Everybody go to Los Jalapenos on Friday night.
It's a good place, yeah.
Fun little dive to eat at. Food's cheap and you can get in and out quick, right?
Yeah.
They have good chips and salsa too, even though I don't eat tons of chips. They have good chips and salsa. So, but yes, I'm with you on that. I think, we're always selling, and I think that whatever we can do to keep our costs minimal as small business owners, I am all for it. Love the TV idea, and it's reasonable. Like Nextdoor, Nextdoor, that we all know about an app. For what you're charging for that's about what they charge for a month, and it's not. I don't even know that it's quite. I don't think it gets in front of as many people for that price, is what I'm saying. It's a very limited. I think here, you think about a restaurant, how many people go into that?
Hundreds in a restaurant,
or a dry cleaning place,
or even like a dental office.
Yeah.
There's 60 people or more that come in a day.
Yeah.
And everybody waits for 5 minutes.
Oh, yes.
In 5 minutes, they'll see the video twice.
Yeah, we'll be
so
looking
you
at
get
that
two
video.
impressions for that one customer.
Right,
And then you
right.
multiply that times the number of days they're open a year, which isn't as many as other businesses.
But it's still,
good for them.
they get a lot of people. They still get quite a few
Yeah.
in there. I could see it
Yeah.
being good. So I'd love to know, as an entrepreneur, I want to kind of back this up now on the entrepreneur side, talk a little bit about your journey. So coming from the franchise, you've been kind of an entrepreneur for a really long time. So you feel like I more so than I am, but I feel like that's kind of what I tell people too. I feel like I've been an entrepreneur forever. That I don't even know what it would be like if I had to go the other way and actually plug into a place of work. I'd love to know what you feel like you've learned over this journey about yourself and this entrepreneurial journey.
Really good question, because I've only had 2 jobs, if you will, and one of them lasted 4 months. I just don't make a good employee.
There's your lesson, right?
What I'm an improver, and I like to find if there's a problem, I want to solve it. That's how every one of my businesses got started, was what problem can I solve?
Yeah.
And then can I create the solution,
Right.
or can I find the solution to sell?
Yeah.
And I think that's been the real fun part of it. I started 2 businesses while I was in college. Those were my first 2 entrepreneurial things.
Okay.
I started delivering papers at 8 years old. I was paid on a 1099, so I guess I was self-employed.
You were
there
self-employed,
too.
yeah.
And I had to sell because, they had contests, and I wanted to win the contest, and so I'm out there knocking on doors, cold calling for sales newspapers.
Would you like a newspaper?
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
No.
So for the younger people out there, that's how it used to be.
Yeah, right. That's so great. That's great. Well, I will. You know what? When I was a kid, we mowed yards.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I was thinking about this the other day that how when I was little, we would make we were always hustling. We were trying to do lemonade stands. We were mowing yards. We were making crafts, and we were going to be how are we going to sell these crafts? We're going to set up a table outside on the at the edge of our driveways were in the front of the house.
Yeah.
We go set up out there and sell our crafts. I mean, we were always entrepreneurialing, whatever that word is, as children, trying to make businesses and stuff. And so it cracks me up because I laugh, and it's I'm still doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's and it's not for everybody.
Right.
I get that, and the corporate world isn't for everybody either.
I agree.
I've proven that to myself.
Yeah.
But the idea of helping businesses, I've not really had. I've only had one of the businesses I started in college was B2C. Everything else I've been B2B. I'm just more comfortable in that space and mentality because I want to help business owners make more money and have more fun and a lot less stress.
Yeah.
So that's my goal.
Well, and I mean, to talk to your point, if you have a problem and you figure out how to solve it, and who is also experiencing that problem, you got a business pretty much, right?
Yep.
I mean, and then it just comes to marketing.
Right.
So,
Yep.
yeah, no, it's good. And I think a lot, maybe not all, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs would probably agree, because I hear that a lot, that I'm not a good employee. And I kind of laugh about this because I've had a couple jobs. I feel like I've been doing entrepreneurial stuff pretty much outside of college, out of that. But I did a few things. I worked in insurance for a while, and it's so funny because now I'm so set in my ways. If somebody told me that I had to be somewhere at a certain time, to plug in, and then I had to sit at a desk, I don't know what I would do because I've just been kind of doing my own thing for so long. I'm kind of spoiled, and I don't lie about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
my longest term in employment was 6 years, and I'll be honest, every week, almost every day, I was worried about being fired.
Oh.
I don't have to worry about that because I'm the boss, and I'm a very understanding boss.
Right. It's very different when you're the boss versus being told what to do.
Yeah, my boss might be a little too easy on me sometimes.
Yeah, mine sometimes and then sometimes not. It's get yourself in gear. You got stuff to do today. Yes. Good stuff. What, well, and I don't even know, I was going to say, what challenges, I mean, you recognize that you can't work for somebody, but what are some things you feel like you've had to learn in the process? Because you've been in this game for a while, so other than marketing, you've obviously have learned lots of marketing hacks.
I mean, I think the thing is this: entrepreneurs in general are very curious people.
Yeah.
They don't pass judgment really fast on whether or not something will work. They're very curious about how could that work.
Right.
Somebody tells, well, that'll never work. Okay, I want to figure out if they're right or not.
Right.
And so that's kind of grown with me all along, is this curiosity to learn the different things. And I've learned some crazy stuff that's, come to help me. I've learned some stuff about, how to manage money better.
Right.
I'm really good at understanding the difference between cash flow and profit.
Right. Those are two different things. Yes.
You could have no profit, but you've got to manage your cash flow.
Yes, right.
And so,
great.
So I've been in that. I do a lot of reading in my early years. I did a lot of reading, especially on sales, because as an entrepreneur, there is no business until a sale's made.
Absolutely.
And since you started the business and you're the only employee, I guess that falls on you too.
Yep.
And so, I tell people all the time, you don't need the next tech hack.
Right.
You need to learn how to sell,
and
be comfortable with that. And I've not always been comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So it just, you stick with it and you realize, of course, here in Texas, you could get shot for making a cold call, but I haven't had that experience yet. So nobody's going to hurt you.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
they might ask you to leave, but they're not going to swear at you, you know.
No.
So
You learn a lot, I think, in the process. There's so many things you said I was laughing about because I'm like, I remember like, and I was actually working for a company at this time. I was working for an insurance company this was back while I was in college. And I remember I used to have to make these cold calls at night. So I would go, it was Nationwide Insurance at the time for an agent in Houston. And so I'd work like during the day, do customer service. In the evening, I'd have to come back and make phone calls. And I hated cold calls. I got really good at them though, but I hated them. And I remember this one time I called and this guy picked up the phone and he just was messing with me on the phone. Like just kept messing with me. Like, I'm just done. And at that time, like now I would just be like, click.
Yeah.
I just be like, I'm not even do this. I'm not going to entertain. Goodbye. But I don't even know. I think I was just like, okay, yeah. Well, did you need me to help you with that? I mean, I was in my 20s. I was in my early 20s, you know? Yeah. So you learn a lot. You learn, right. and I think all these things you're talking about, you know, like you learn, you know, you are the show in your business and you are wearing all the hats. That means you are the CEO, the accountant, the salesman, and all the pieces, and you got to work them all. And if you don't, you ain't having anything going on. No money, no sales, nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
And another thing is check your ego at the door.
Oh, yeah.
What you need advice from people that you trust. Even if you hardly know them, try to develop a rapport with them. I don't say a relationship because that could mean something different. Just rapport. Because when I started Go Guerrilla Marketing, I went to 6 or 8 of my trusted advisors and asked them. And I was on the right track with most of it. Yeah. But they pointed out a couple things that I didn't see.
Yeah.
And so now I fixed them. Yeah. So, all in one day.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And we kind of talked about that last night. We were having the book launch here for Vicki about, trusting information. And I'm like, if you hear, the same thing coming up from multiple, like different people saying kind of the same thing, that curiosity needs to be like lean into, okay, maybe I need to look at this and see what's going on, right? Yeah. But then on the other hand, like I was, Vicki and I were talking about, if you've got the one person that's telling you this, but everybody else is not telling you that, maybe it's time to just kind of, not listen to that advice.
Yeah, it's okay to fire people every now and then.
Exactly. You learn a lot being
or at least fire that one piece of advice.
Yeah. I've learned that, I will ask for advice, but I kind of take it in and I say, if a lot of people are kind of saying the same thing, maybe
I should. Something to it.
Yeah, I might look at it. And if I'm only hearing it from, one or two and everybody else is like, then I'm like, we'll just hold that thought. Maybe come back to it later. We may have some time to process that. It's good stuff. So, Jeff, a couple fun questions. So, mentors, do you have any particular, it could be a book, it could be a personal mentor. You said trusted advisors, like people, trusted friends. If you asked me this question, I would have it. I have so many. I have so many answers, but I want to know from you, any particular mentor, a book, anything that you feel like was kind of a stick out in your mind and your guidance?
I was a big listener to Jim Rohn. Jim was he was one of the founders of business psychology, if you will, and just a brilliant man to listen to. For sales, I don't care what anybody says. Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy were the two best salespeople in the country. Yeah. I learned all of my, well, not all of it, but most of my doing business by referral. I learned from a guy by the name of Brian Buffini, who is a coach in the real estate space. Okay. And so he was coaching me, his company. And I learned a lot about that. And, I've taken that into, I've now got, because of my length of time in business, I have over 100 tips for networking that, people aren't really doing. Your 30-second commercial doesn't mean anything. If you don't even have to have one for networking to work. I've developed a lot of those things. I hate those 30-second commercials. Yeah. Well, especially if you go every week and you hear the same one every time. It's like, why are we doing this? We all know each other.
Exactly. And to me, it's so hard to really, I know it's that shock factor. You're trying to get them to want to sit down with you. But I think sometimes leaving a little mystery too makes people be like, what's that about? You know? Yeah. Like, don't say a lot. Don't say as much.
Yeah, I'm always amazed to go to a networking group and have no one follow up with me. Not even the leader of the group. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, there's somebody that doesn't know what networking is. It's about building your group of rapport and people you can work to trust and that will trust you.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, building your own personal network, and it's...
And that's an interesting
just cracks
topic,
me up. Yeah.
because just like this last week, I went out networking and I came back with like several business cards. I followed up with every one of them, and I haven't been able to pin any of them down to connect. They're all like, they've all been like, yeah, we should get coffee sometime, and I'm like, I'm not asking you for a date.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing there. I just want to learn about your business and,
right.
Maybe invite you to our RBA sometime or whatever, and learn a little, But, yeah.
People are funny.
They are. They don't
So I try to laugh it off.
Yeah, well, you do. I think in the entrepreneur space, you do. You have to learn to have a sense of humor, curiosity. Maybe that's the two things, sense of curiosity and humor.
Yeah.
To grow. So, very good. Okay, so we've talked throughout really cool stuff. I want to say, any one thing in the marketing space you want to tell a business owner right now, other than to call you, to call Jeff.
Let me give you my phone number.
So he can help you. But any one thing they could do right now to maybe get them on the right track for marketing, or something they could do that's really inexpensive, barter cards we talked about.
I mean, I think a lot of owners are completely out of touch with their customers. So they need to reach back out to their customers. And I tell people, I buy, a half dozen cookies and they ship them the next day, and you'd be surprised. I get a return phone call every time when I'm thanking them for being a customer of mine, or thank them.
Oh, yeah.
You probably didn't know this, but we've been working together for 17 years. And then they call me out, I didn't know that. That is what you're trying to do. Without that, you don't get referrals, you don't get regulars, and you don't get raving fans.
Oh, yeah.
So
if I got cookies in the mail, let me tell you, there was actually a dentist here in Carrollton. She's no longer with that practice. She moved out to Frisco. But first of all, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't like the dentist. I do have a dentist now in Carrollton that I do like. Finally, after 50-something years, found a dentist I'm okay with. But I just hate them because we had all that crappy 80s children's dental stuff. They don't have all... Kids that have luxury dental care now. We did not. They go to pull teeth, they just be like, numb it, yank the tooth out. Very, very different thing. Anyways, there was a dentist
You're
here.
easy to sidetrack.
I know. There was a dentist here that I remember the first week I went in there, because I was diagnosed with TN, and that's like a dentist's worst nightmare. And so I went in there and I told her about it, had the appointment, and I don't know, about a week later, I get these flowers show up at my door. And I'm thinking, from the dentist. I'm like, this is good. And every time I'd go in there, even though the hygienist would drive me crazy because they would talk while your mouth is open. I've never understood why they talk to you while your mouth is open. I went back to that
Or they
dentist.
ask questions.
Well, that's the point. She would be asking me, and I'll be like, I can't tell you.
And then she understands you. That's what's really crazy.
Exactly. But I went back to the dentist because I liked that dentist. I felt like she made that extra special touch, and I stayed with her until she left that practice. And
people don't understand that doing business and getting repeat business is all about authentic appreciation. Saying thank you for paying you, that's just courtesy. That's not appreciation.
Right.
So you've got, and I've got some creative ways to do it. You got to get their contact information. If you can get a home address, that's great. Sometimes you can just look it up. A lot of people have a big footprint online. Get a phone number, get an email, and then you got to work to do that. And you could even send an email that said, hey, I've got something to ask you. Could you give me a call? That way, they're calling you.
Yeah,
they want to know what it is, and what you want to do is appreciate them. I mean, who would not like that?
Absolutely.
And who would become less loyal because you did that? Nobody. They become more loyal.
Yeah.
So that's my big tip is figure out a way to get in a better rapport and relationship with your clientele.
Yeah. Good stuff, Jeff. Okay, and I'm going to say something about the getting off track, because I do it all the time. But we land the plane every single time. That's what I tell people. I'm like, I never know where it's going to go. You never know.
Find the runway somewhere.
Yeah, you never know when you have a conversation with me. We're going to go over there. We will fly all over the place, but we will land the plane.
I love it.
I had it. So true story. when I first started the show, I used to go into the studio. My good friend Chris Clow, he's been kind of in the media for a long time. He's got some family kind of in the entertainment business, but he used to joke all the time because he would say, "You're definitely going to land the plane." Because I will bring it in every time, but we will fly everywhere before we land. So.
The flight is enjoyable, though.
Yeah, we make sure we have fun.
It's like you're serving wine.
Exactly. So, Jeff, this has been great. It's been awesome.
Thanks.
So, if our audience, somebody listening to this, wants to connect with you, maybe they want to learn a little bit more about, Go Guerrilla marketing. Maybe they want to enlist you for your services. I don't know. Follow you, whatever. Where do we send them?
We're in the process of redoing the website, so I won't send you there. But you can find me on LinkedIn, Jeff Weaver, and you'll find some more information about there. In my contact info, I got everything. I get a kick out of salespeople that don't put their phone number on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I'm like, but everything's there for you. You can send an email. The email still works for the old website, so I'm definitely be able to be contacted in that way. Best way.
We'll be looking forward to seeing the website. I know that's kind of a process. I just had to rebuild all mine, and I know it takes a little time to get
my
it.
last ones were kind of business oriented, and this one's going to have a big gorilla on it, so it's
it'll
going to be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I know I would look at that. It's all good. All right, well, Jeff, this has been awesome. I want to thank you for jumping on here last minute. We just kind of crafted this up, and thank you for your patience and willingness, and I guess your nuggets of wisdom on the whole marketing thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're a sweetheart. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Of course, our audience, we appreciate you. I hope you found this episode both informative and inspiring. And if you did, you know what to do. All the things. Like, subscribe, comment, share, so we can keep putting out this fabulous content to you. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. Every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.